Dr. Now is not always a hero.
Scares me.
It should. Imagine being stuck, unable to move because of your weight. That idea alone should be terrifying if you've been mobile for most of your life.
I don't love the way my body looks. It's hard to deal with everybody scrutinizing me.
This man is very honest. What he just said, I will bet that it is the same feeling that those fat acceptance influencers share but claim otherwise for clout. They're loud about loving their fat bodies, but let's be honest, if there were a magic pill to lose weight overnight, that pill would run out of stock almost instantly, because those same influencers would have tried to get them first and as many as possible.
There's never a limit to how many breakfast burritos I can eat after my morning shower. When I am chewing, I cram it in and I get this high off of it. It's like floating in the sky.
He just described what addiction is like. Wess has a food addiction, but how did it start? I have said a lot on the channel that no one is born obese and children become obese because of a poor relationship with food that they develop a lot of the time from their upbringing. It is the parents' or guardians' responsibility to educate children, and if these ones have poor relationship with food themselves, then the children most likely will too. And West's childhood was no different. His father was the cook in the family, and the portions that he would serve his children were phenomenal, causing Wess to associate larger portions of food to his father's love. But Wess also has trauma in his past, as he was molested by a family member after his parents divorced. He was a child whose childhood was robbed. So he did what he could to cope and turn to food for comfort. His story is just sad. I don't mean to say that other stories on the show are not, and I'm not. But how do you come back from someone telling you that they made themselves morbidly obese and lonely so that no one would ever hurt them? The icing on the cake when Wess was a teen was that he came out to his father about being gay, and his father rejected him. So there is a big package there, no pun intended.
I would say without a doubt 100% I am a food addict. I have lost control and my food controls me.
It takes a lot of courage to admit to an addiction. And being at that point where he realized that he has a problem, Wess is ready to ask for help and follow through. And he does decide to take his control back, take his life back. Off to Dr. Now he goes. The first appointment with Dr. Now was a shocker to me, and here's why.
You need to stick to it. 400 calories a day, high protein, low carb diet that I'm gonna give you.
Okay, if they were keeping him in an hospital, I would not cringe on those numbers because 1200 calories are almost nothing for someone this size. And at that point, they need to be closely followed and monitored by physicians at that too low caloric intake. In an hospital setting, for instance, this would not have me cringe as much. For someone the size of Wess and who is dealing with depression and food addiction, putting them straight on a 1200 calorie diet overnight on their own when they're used to at least 5 times that And we're being conservative here. That is a recipe for disaster. Wess will also have to exercise a lot more. Walking in his neighborhood daily is going to be a must. And that is an activity that he did do. But Wess did not lose 100 pounds in a month as he was supposed to. I mean, how could he? The plan was too drastic for someone with no knowledge of what to do to reach such a big goal on his own. He needed a fitness trainer, a dietitian, or a nutrition coach, as well as a psychologist. Here's what happens when you start a weight loss journey. At the beginning, your body is going to fight you in the mental sense. You crave the junk foods that you indulged in before. Your stomach will start to get upset more as your guts transition from receiving bad quality foods and beverages to the good ones. Depending on how big your calorie deficit is, you will feel extremely tired and lethargic. Good luck finding the strength and energy to add exercising. So, 1200 calories for Wess or someone his size is ridiculous. You want to introduce changes gradually rather than going cold turkey. At 705 pounds with a daily 1200 calorie intake, you're probably starving. Wess did lose 10 pounds in 2 months, and this is a step forward. He might have given into his food addiction a few times when the cameras were not turning, but he tried. He could have lost more indeed, but given his circumstances, I would still pat him on the back because though a 10-pound weight loss may seem like nothing for someone his size, it is huge from someone his size who is a slave to food.
I am a food addict. I have lost control and my food controls me.
Alright, so Wess is 695. In 2 months, you only lost a whole 10 pounds of weight.
Yes.
So what's going on with that?
What's going on, dear Dr. Now, is that you gave him an unrealistic goal, and now you're acting surprised that he did not meet that goal.
There's been a couple of days that I've cheated on my diet.
And it was expected. It was expected but not accounted for, and the first visit and assessment with Dr. Now should have been the time to scan for any issues that could get in the way of Wess losing weight. It was said no. That was the end of the discussion. Seriously? He should have received a referral to a mental health specialist at the end of that first visit. Basically, Dr. Now spent a big chunk of the second appointment to guilt trip Wess, and it was despicable to see. Here, I'm going to give you a plan that I fully know is unrealistic for you. Then, when you fail, I am going to put blame on you by asking you questions whose only answers are you blaming yourself for my own failure. That's pretty much what Dr. Now did. He failed Wess, not the other way around.
Do I need to call you every day and ask you please follow the diet so I can live? So you want me to be the one to motivate you to lose weight and keep you from gaining?
Of course, yes. Well, you maybe not, but someone in Wess' situation needs the accountability person. It doesn't necessarily need to be an everyday thing, but it could be depending on what the patient or client feels comfortable with. That second visit was very painful to watch because, unlike what they want you to believe, Dr. Now was the manipulator in that interaction.
I get what you're saying, but if you depend on me to make the difference, then you're never going to succeed. You have to motivate yourself.
That is wrong in this case. At the stage Wess is, he needs that person to rely on for success. He does not need motivation. No one needs motivation to lose weight. You need discipline, not motivation. And discipline is taught. Wess needs to learn the habits that will set him up for success on his weight loss journey. He needs to learn how to quiet or even vanquish his demons and not give in to food. Expecting him to just know those things by himself and overnight is dear Scheiße, Beastmanier. Wess is given another 2 months to lose 90 pounds. What a waste of time. Like, what's the rush with the weight loss surgery? 100 pounds to lose in 4 months was more realistic than the same goal in 2 months. Still aggressive in 4 months, yes, but way less than in 2. No, he did not. No, he did not. Ach du lieber Gott. We don't tell alcoholics that it is their responsibility to take control over their drinking problems. Instead, we get them the appropriate help for their drinking problem provided they want to. And it is during that treatment that they learn their responsibilities in their own health. Why do we not have the same empathy for morbidly obese individuals? This is someone with an addiction. I don't care what your poison is because addiction is addiction, regardless of the substance. That substance controls you. Until the addiction is dealt with, those suffering from it cannot truly grasp their responsibility to steer away from the addiction. Just telling them it's your responsibility to fix yourself will not help them. Even if sentences like that one are true, there is still a missing piece that they need to make the change happen. Gosh, this show as a whole is so infuriating. Then Dr. Now tells Wess, you need to address your emotional eating, but first you need to lose weight on your own. Dude, he needs the mental health taken care of at the same time that he is pursuing weight loss. What's wrong with you putting a condition before you provide him with mental health assistance? 3 months later, Wess returned to see Dr. Now and he has lost 89 pounds, making it a total of 99 pounds loss. That made me very happy and proud. And I am not going to lie, I even had happy tears when I saw the number on the scale. Wess got approved for weight loss surgery in the coming month, and he lost another 24 pounds by surgery day. I also want to mention that the big change occurred after he started psychotherapy, which he needed. You see, his food addiction and depression were never addressed within or with his family, so he just internalized everything. Therapy taught him to accept his past, deal with the emotions that stemmed from it, but also have a needed conversation about those traumas and his emotions with his father. All this contributed toward his success on his weight loss journey. He continued to make slower progresses, but there were progresses regardless in my book. He was finally referred to a mental health specialist who he worked with to address the past traumas and learn to live rather than to cope. Episode 3 of my 600-pound life was bittersweet. I did not like Dr. Now's part at the beginning because from what we were shown, he seemed to be there to make Wess fail on purpose by giving him a plan that was clearly unachievable and then blamed Wess for not achieving that goal. I also did not like the twist of the episode with Wess' journey as a whole. Wess himself is very resilient and determined, and that is the main reason why he was able to lose the weight that he did before getting approved for weight loss surgery. While that is a positive, it also gave the false impression that just about any morbidly obese individual can replicate the same results if only they had the same drive. The problem here is that they don't, and from my point of view, Wess is an exception. I said at the beginning of this episode that someone his size and in his circumstances needs external help to learn the proper process to lose the weight safely and in a sustainable way. He did not have it and still persevered, which made him some kind of an outlier rather than a norm. Else, everyone on the show would have the same results. The plan that he was given to follow was too drastic and not different from starving the guy for results, and I totally hated that part. We had a glance at what Wess had as a meal during the process, for instance. A pot of yogurt and 2 very small egg muffins. Very nutritious but also very little for someone his size on a weight loss journey. I enjoyed Wess' gentle and funny personality. The man cracks jokes on himself, and that's how I knew the episode was a lighter one compared to the previous episode with Latonia. I liked how honest he was with himself and how he kept himself accountable. He is definitely a motivation for sure. He let his circumstances define him to a certain point and then changed things around for the better for the sake of his own life. We need to see more of this. Follow me on all socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube at Restream. And feel free to donate to the channel or become a member to receive more perks. All links are in the description. Hug your loved ones. Train mean.